Greetings everyone, I'm Kevin and here is my November TBR. Now, November is going to be a little bit different than usually because I am not playing my TBR game for November. And I talked about this a little bit in my most recent TBR video where I played the TBRC, that because I am participating in NaNoWriMo, I don't really have that much time to read because I will be focusing on writing instead. And when I play TBRC, I select between 7 and 8 books at least if I don't have any punishments, which is too much, I feel like, because I won't have time to focus on reading as much as I'm used to for November because of NaNoWriMo. So I am not going to set a specific, TBR that I am going to read all of these books or, like that. I am only going to be participating in the Pokemon-Athon. I am also a team leader of Team Piplup. Go Team Piplup, water team. And this readathon is hosted by Jane from the Bookaholic. So I'm really excited to join and have like live shows and stuff for this readathon, like talking to all of you. There's a Discord and a lot of like fun things. I will leave all the links down below so you can check it out. So I am going to only talk about books in this video that I would want to read. I'm not going to read all of these books probably because November is going to be such a weird time for me. I don't want to set myself up for failure. Instead I just have like a lot of books and my goal is to read at least 5 of them. The Pokemon-Athon starts on November 1st and ends on November 18th. So the first 18 days of October, that is quite a lot of time to read 5 books as well. In a month, I usually read at least 10 books. So I'm just going to go through the books that I would like to read for the different prompts connected to Pokemon-Athon, and if I don't read all of these, that's fine. And I also kind of go into this planning it a little bit as if I'm a mood reader, because I don't know, like usually I like having a set TBR that I will just read these books. But now, because I won't have that much time to read, I would much prefer leaving it open so that I pick up a book from a TBR list that I feel most like I want to read. But without further ado, let's go through the prompts for Pokemon-Athon. And as I said, I am Team Piplup. I'm the team leader of Team Piplup, so go team. And it is the water team, so we have a few water related team prompts. Like every team has a different set of prompts that are kind of the same way. So for the prompt Blue Undercover, I chose The Kiss Quotient by Helen Wong, and I'm really excited to read this. I've heard nothing but great things about this, and I love reading rom-coms. Like romance is one of my favorite genres, so I'm really like happy to have romance books on here because I don't know what mood I will be in November. Like maybe I feel like I want something light and fun, and then I have this. And this is also kind of funny because this has an autism representation. I think the main character, the main female character, is autistic, and she's trying to figure out the whole thing with dating, and like she doesn't really understand it, so she makes this plan. And this is not fake dating, but I think this is fake dating as well, but she hires an escort to help teach her these things. So I think this is going to be really fun. So this is going on the TBR for Blue Undercover because it's blue. The next prompt is also, related to Team Piplup, and it is water related word in the title. And I chose A Long Walk to Water because water is obviously a water related word because it is literally water. This is a short book and it's by Linda Sue Park. I read her other book that is called When My Name Was Kyoko, which I absolutely adored. It's a historical novel about a pair of siblings living in South Korea or Korea when Korea belonged to Japan during the 40s, so the 1940s. So I decided I wanted to pick this up. This is based on true events, and this is the story of a guy who leaves his village because it is under attack, and he crosses Africa, or like large parts of Africa, and like I'm really intrigued about that, and I did really enjoy Linda Sue Park's writing in the other book. This is also, as I said, short. It's a short historical, just the way that When My Name Was Kyoko was, so adding it for both the author, because I really enjoyed her other book, and because it's always nice to have a short book on your TBR. The last Team Piplup specific prompt is set near water. And there were actually a few books that I could choose for this, but the one that I decided to add to the TBR, because I think if I'm in the mood to read something that is kind of like a fun fantasy story that is not like anything I've read but has nostalgic elements to it, is Magic of Blood and Sea. This is a bind up of The Assassin's Curse and The Pirate's Wish. So I would only set off to read the first part, the first book, which is The Assassin's Curse. So half the book is The Assassin's Curse. It's around 500 pages total, the bind up, but it has to do with pirates and strong female characters. And like, I know that Charlotte from Clumsy Charlotte made an entire video about like 25 reasons why you should read this, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna read this book. And I was just really intrigued by what she, like the reasons that she gave, and I was like, yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean was my thing when I was young. It's still like some of the best movies out there, the first 3 movies especially, like not after those 3. There are only 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but those movies are really good. So I feel like maybe I will be in the mood to read a pirate story, and then I have this. And as it is a pirate story, it is obviously set near water. Then we're moving on to the gym prompts. And there are 8 gyms, and each gym has 2 prompts that you choose which of these 2 prompts you want to do. Maybe you find a book that fits both prompts, I don't know. But for the rock gym, the prompts are either a heavy book or like relates to music, has some kind of element of music in it. And because, as I said, I don't really have a lot of time to read a lot, so I felt like I'm not going to do that to myself, to add a heavy book like a chunker. I'm not gonna do that. So instead I went for the music, the rock on part. And there's only one book that I can say with absolute certainty that it has some kind of music going on, and it's A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. This has to do with mermaids, and it's the kind of mermaids that sing. So it's kind of like The Little Mermaid, that kind of mermaid. I don't know that much more, but it has to do with those kinds of things, but it's set in a modern world. This is relatively short for a YA fantasy. It's less than 300 pages long, so it's really short for that kind of book. I don't know if I should refer to it as a fantasy or a paranormal book, but I'm adding it. So obviously music, it has to do with singing as well. I know like that part of it, but this is going on the TBR as well. The next gym is grass, and this has 2 prompts, light book and nature on the cover. And so I am going to have a book that fits both prompts, and I chose The Last Human. It is short, so it's a very light book, but it also has nature on the cover. You see like all of those trees. I think this is very stunning, this cover. I think it's really beautiful. I love the human in the A, like this little girl. This was a book that I've been really excited to read ever since I got it, ever since I heard about it. But this is basically a science fiction story where robots are everywhere and humans are nowhere, and then these robots find a human, and it's from the robots' perspective. I love that. It's a middle grade, it's sci-fi, it's short, and it's a lot of stuff that I feel like it could definitely be a book that I will feel like I need this in November. Then we're on to the fighting gym. The 2 prompts for this are enemies to lovers and debut, and I chose to do the first prompt. So enemies to lovers. I chose Along for the Ride. This follows a road trip. We have our main character, Jolene, who has promised her sister to help her move across the country. And she did not know that this guy that she absolutely despises is going to be there as well. That is due to a last minute thing that Jolene thought that she was going to go there with her sister and brother-in-law, but they couldn't do it. So instead she has to make the trip with a guy that she really does not like. I don't really know who he is, more specifically, like if he is the brother of the brother-in-law, or if that, like, why he specifically has to do the road trip with her. I don't know that, but it's a road trip, it's enemies to lovers, it's a romance. So the next gym is the water gym, and the true prompts are will make you cry and just keep swimming. Continuous series. So I decided to choose The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becca Chambers. I'm really excited to read this. It's the last book in the series. I finished the third book the other day. It's a science fiction and it has, you know, different alien species that we get to follow what life is like on different places in the galaxy, and technological advances, cultures, history, a lot of stuff that I'm really interested in. Like, I love science fiction when the world is built in a very well detailed way without it being, you know, overwhelming, and Becca Chambers did a great job with this series, so I'm really excited to read the last book in it. The next gym is the Ghost gym, and the two prompts for this are Paranormal Supernatural and Ghosted, a book you DNF'd. I chose Pax Mylingen. This is the third book in the Pax series. This is a Swedish middle grade story that deals a lot with Nordic folklore, Swedish folklore, and the old religion and paranormal creatures of our folklore and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed the first two books, but it follows these two brothers who, in the first book, they came across this old library as they moved to this old town, and they kind of became guardians of the library to make sure that these creatures and things related to folklore weren't in the wrong hands and didn't wreak havoc on the city and disturb the people too much. Like, I don't know how to explain it in a very good way, but it's a middle grade paranormal about two siblings who do not have a good home life, parents, stuff like that. I really enjoy it, so I'm adding the third book to my Pokemon-Athon TBR. Then we're on to the Steel gym, and the prompts are a offer you love and a 5-star prediction. And I chose to go with the latter, so a 5-star prediction. And the 5-star prediction is The Serpent's Secret by Sayantani Dasgupta. And this has to do with, a little bit like with Mylingen, this has to do with Indian folklore. I think it's South Asian folklore, at least. I don't remember specifically if it's India or any region around India or specific region within India, but it's South Asian mythology, folklore, and stuff like that. And we follow a girl and her parents goes missing, and she just ends up in this world where beings and creatures from stories that she grew up with exist in the real world. I've heard that this series is kind of like for lovers of Rick Riordan's work, and I really enjoyed the Percy Jackson books I've read. I haven't read all of them yet, but I want to read all of them. And I'm really interested in that kind of story, so I'm really looking forward to reading this, because I don't know that much about the mythology and folklore that is included in this, but Greek mythology and Norse mythology and Swedish folklore I know a lot about, so that will be very interesting when I read this as well. The next gym is Ice, and we have Cold-Hearted Character and Slipped Your Mind, so a book you forgot about. I chose The Fifth Gender by G.L. Carriger for this. This is a queer science fiction story that is also a murder mystery, which is very interesting to me. And I chose this for Slipped Your Mind because I completely forgot about this. I think I had this on my TBRC TBR for like January or February, like very early in the year, and then I just never picked it up. But it's a short book, it's a murder mystery, it's queer, science fiction. I feel like it's definitely that kind of book that I feel like would be very interesting to dive into. So if I feel like I don't know what to pick up, a mystery is always something that could be fun to read, and it's queer and it's science fiction, which are all things that I absolutely love. So decided to have this for Slipped My Mind because it did. The next gym is the electric gym, and the 2 prompts for this are digital, that you read digitally, so ebook, audiobook, something like that, and impulse vibe. So I decided to go with the first part of this, which is digital, and I'm just going to keep this absolutely open, not decide on specific books for this prompt. And I also have a few books in my library on both script and Audible that I haven't gotten to yet, so those books are for this prompt. Then we're on to the last prompt, which is a bonus prompt, and I'm really happy that we included this prompt because it's animal companion, because you know Pokemons are basically animal companions. So I thought this was a very fun bonus prompt to have, and I chose, this is going to be very weird, or this is in my opinion, a little bit strange, but I chose A Boy Called Christmas by Matt Haig. The reason why I think it's weird is because it's only November. Why would I want to read a Christmas book in November? Well, it's cozy. Who doesn't want to, like, you know, have a warm cup of coffee, a little whipped cream on the coffee? That's actually, you know, like, we have something in Sweden called tomtekaffe, which is Santa coffee. It's Christmas coffee basically, but we call it tomtekaffe, which is Santa coffee, which sounds weird in English, but it's a really good coffee, and it's like a regular coffee, but it's extra milk, cream, and cinnamon. So it's a really nice, very like festive coffee order. I really love that. So that's kind of like the vibe I'm going with. But I feel like if, like I've said with all of these books that I add, that I want books that in different parts of the November that I will be heading into, where I will probably be very stressed with work, and also with NaNoWriMo, that I will have, you know, options that are very lighthearted and easy to get through. So I thought, like, why not add a Christmas book on the list? It's very short, it's a middle grade, it has beautiful illustrations in it as well, and it has an animal companion of a reindeer. I'm really curious as well, like, how many countries have reindeers? Because for me, reindeers are only in the Nordic, but that's like, for me, I associate reindeers with the Nordic because they're the animals of our indigenous people, or one of our indigenous peoples have reindeers. They are the only people who are allowed to take care of reindeers. So for me, reindeers equal Nordic, but that can't be right? But I thought this was gonna be very like fun to have as an option for November. I love also that it's glittery. I don't know how well you can see that this is glittery, the moon. It's sparkly. Yay. It's beautiful. So there we have it. These are all the books that I want to read. As I said earlier, I'm not planning to read all 11 books on this list. Instead, I'm just going to have like this list as options. So when I feel like on November 1st, I want to start a new book. Which book do I feel like reading? Oh, this book. And then I just do that for the 18 days of the Pokemon-Athon. And as I said, also like my aim is to read at least 5 books the entire month. So I'm not, you know, going to be mad at myself if I don't finish all of these books, because I don't think I will finish half of the books on this list. But I have my options and I have the prompts connected to them, and I am ready to go read. And before I leave, I wanted to just say as well that on November 1st, we are going to have a live show, or a live, is it just called a live? We're going to have a live, me and the other team leaders, or a lot of the other team leaders. I know that some couldn't make it, but we're having like, you know, starting celebration that we kick off the readathon basically. So that's going to be very, very fun, and I will leave the link down below to all of the other team leaders, all the information that you need, and as also to the live, so you can go ahead and check that out. But as always, thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't, and good reading. Bye.